What's up, guys? So the new balance patch for Samurai Shodown is out, version 1.11, and oh my god, this changed everything. This is one of the biggest patches I've ever seen for a game that is less than 2 months old. Pretty much every character got a ton of adjustments. The tier list is really going to change, and I'm going to run through what I think are kind of the biggest changes here. I'm not going to do every single tiny change because there's just way too many of them, but the link to the full patch notes is down in the description if you want to see that. But with that, let's get into things. Okay, so first of all, there are a couple sort of changes to online functionality. Now, if you're doing searching for a match when you're in training mode, you find a match, now you will actually go back to training mode. What a novel concept. You don't get sent back to the main menu where you have to wait for training mode to load and pick your characters all over again. So that's a nice change. Also, they made the casual match lobby system a lot more intuitive, and now if you're playing one-on-one with a friend, you can rematch instead of having to go back to character select every time. So I love it. These are really nice changes. Now for some actual gameplay changes, there's some things that are going to apply to basically every character, okay? So dodging, they made dodge recover faster. So now it should theoretically be a little bit easier to punish stuff with dodge. Conversely, countering, quarter circle forward plus light plus medium, this now has longer recovery. So kind of a good strategy before was just guessing with counter a lot, but now counter will have a little bit more recovery, and now if the opponent hits you out of your counter, you will be in a counter hit state. You can see I took extra damage there. So counter is going to be a little bit easier to punish now, and you got to be a little more careful about just randomly throwing it out. So that seems like a fair change to me. Rage Explosion, they have extended the upwards hitbox, so now it hits people out of the air a little bit better, and this is going to be a really big deal with a certain character that I'll show you later, so I can explain that a little bit better. They've made the timing for Dragon Punch inputs a little bit different, so now it's a little bit easier to walk forward and then do a quarter circle forward without getting a Dragon Punch. And similarly for characters like Nakaruru and Rimururu, it's going to be easier to walk backwards and then do a quarter circle backwards without getting a reverse Dragon Punch. So that's just kind of a quality of life change. And then finally, one pretty big one here is that your weapon flipping technique, now, no matter what, the weapon will end up right on top of the other person. So assuming that you don't roll or whatever, you're always going to end up with the weapon where you wake up. So the opponent is not going to be able to strand your weapon off screen the way they were before and totally screw you and win the round off of one weapon flip. So great change. I think it's about time that we saw that, and that should make things feel a little bit more fair. So those are most of the universal changes. Now let's start going into character-specific changes. So first of all, for basically every character in the game, their dash speed and their backdash speed has been increased, and that applies to Yashamaru as well. Let's go into some of his other changes here. His running light has more recovery now. You probably saw this was a pretty abusable move before, just because it has a really big hitbox and it had really fast startup and recovery. But now it's going to have a little bit more recovery. You can't spam it nearly as fast as you could before, so that seems like a decent change. Next up, his Dragon Punches. So this is going to be a universal change across the whole cast. Anyone who has an invincible Dragon Punch. So the way it works now is that your light Dragon Punch is going to be completely not invincible. Your medium Dragon Punch is going to be invincible to anti-air attacks only. And then your heavy Dragon Punch is going to be the only one that maintains complete full body invincibility. So that applies to Yashamaru, Genjuro, and Charlotte as well. So pay attention to that. And then finally, the last kind of notable change here for Yashamaru is his weapon flipping technique is going to have slightly slower startup. You can still combo it just as easily as you could before, but now, like for punish situations and anti-air situations, it's going to be a little bit tougher to, you know, just blast the opponent at the last second with this super. You got to be a little bit better with the reads when you're trying to land this in neutral, which I think is fair. He had probably the best weapon flipping technique in the game, and he possibly still does. It's just slightly easier now to play around it. You don't have to just down back and not do anything until his rage goes away. So I think those are some good changes. He got some other minor stuff, but that's about it in terms of major changes. I think Haomaru will still be an extremely powerful character. I don't think he's losing too much. Alright, next up we got Nakoruru. Nakoruru just got a ton of like really minor changes. I don't want to go through each and every one of them, but for a small sampling here, she now stays in rage longer, which is good. Her down medium slash now is slower, but in exchange it hits low, which is pretty nice. You can mix them up with a low from fairly far away, so that's cool. Her crouching heavy slash now has a better anti-air hitbox. You can see you're still going to have to time it pretty well to anti-air people with it, but it's going to be a little bit easier, and you're going to get hit out of it a little bit less often, so that seems good. And then lastly here, kind of a decent nerf for her is that her running kick is now more punishable. People are going to be able to punish it with a few various moves, so you got to be a little more careful throwing this out. But if you space it really well, you can make it really safe, so that's just something worth noting. So overall, I think Nakoruru got more buffs than she got nerfs. She got a decent amount of like damage and hitbox increases, but she got a couple minor nerfs as well, so I think overall she's not going to change too much. But as I mentioned earlier, this quality of life change with being able to do back into quarter circle back more easily, this is a really good change, and it's going to make her life a lot easier, so I like that a lot. Next up we got Hattori Hanzo. He mostly got some pretty minor buffs, not too much changed with him. One slight nerf is they claim that they decreased the upward hitbox on his standing kick. I really haven't noticed this change at all. This move seems just as good as it was before. But maybe, you know, against certain characters, it's going to be a little bit more iffy to anti-air with this, but it still seems good. One pretty nice buff is his jumping forward kick, which is this little Azuna drop thing. Now has a bigger hitbox, so it's going to be easier to anti-air with this, so I think that that's nice. And just generally, they gave some very slight buffs to stuff like his teleports, and then his substitution technique that lets him sort of get out of combos and stuff like that. Those are going to be very slightly buffed. So overall, I think Hanzo might be a little bit better, but he didn't get too much. Just some slight minor damage, hitbox, and timing buffs. So not too bad there. Alright, next up we got Galford. So Galford's weapon flipping technique has been slowed down. Similar to Haomaru, this was one of the best weapon flips in the game, but now it's going to have slower startup, so it's going to be a little bit less insane in neutral, so I'm okay with that. Plasma Blade, they didn't change too much. This move is still going to be really good. They only slightly reduced kind of its anti-air hitbox. You're still going to be able to anti-air people with it occasionally. It's just going to be kind of less of a giant screen-filling hitbox that moves across the screen. So very, very slight nerf to Plasma Blade, but it still seems really good to me. However, his teleports did get hit pretty hard, so these are all going to come out slower, so it's going to be easier to sort of react to what direction you're going to get hit on, which I think is a great change. I think these were a little bit stupid before. Now they're going to be a little bit more easy to react to, and they also increase the recovery, so they're going to be even easier to punish on blocks, so I like that. And apparently they also made some changes to his replica, the sort of log combo escape thing. I believe in shorter combos that he used to be able to get out of with the log, for example, Jubei down heavy slash. Now, from what I can tell, he's not able to do the replica during this. It's possible that I'm doing something wrong, but as best as I can tell, now he's only going to be able to do the log replica for like longer combos. At least that's my understanding. So overall, Galford seems like one of the more nerfed characters. Most of his kind of dumb stuff like the fast cross-ups and the anti-air hitbox on Plasma Blade did get nerfed, but I think he'll be fine. He's an insanely good character, and I don't think he's going too far down the tier list here. Alright, next up we've got Yukio. So Yukio didn't get too much changed, but he did get some minor buffs that I think are kind of nice. So now his far medium slash has less pushback on hit, so this is going to enable combos like this to work more from more regions of the screen. Even off of throw, you can take a slight step forward and then do medium slash into his heavy kind of Rekka move, and it's all going to connect, so that's really handy. He's going to get more damage off throws now. But one really nice change is to his weapon flipping technique. Now this is going to be invulnerable to projectiles, so you can see he can just fly over projectiles and punish, so that's pretty nice. This move didn't really have a lot of use before because it was so slow and you couldn't combo into it and it wasn't good for a punish. But now I think it's going to be pretty decent. You know, if you're fighting against a projectile character and you see him charging it up, you can just pull this super out and punish it, so that's pretty nice. So I think Yukio definitely has the potential to be the best character in the game now. He was really good before, and he really is only going to get better. As far as I can tell, he didn't really lose much, if anything, and I think he's going to be really nice. So Yukio players, rejoice. Alright, next up we've got Kyoshiro, considered previously to be probably the worst character in the game, but boy did he get a ton of good stuff. I don't think he's going to be the worst anymore. So now his close medium slash is now special cancelable. I can't believe this wasn't the case already. Seems like such a no-brainer. But hey, he's got that. He needed that. His far medium and his crouch medium are now faster to start up. So wow, these were like probably his best moves before, and they're only getting better. So really, really nice. I think that's going to be a good one. Advancing medium slash. So this is an overhead, at least it looks like it should be, but the problem was before you would run into all these situations where this just jumps over crouchers and you don't get anything off it, and now that's not going to happen, so I think that is good. His running kick is now more safe. I think it's still going to be really unsafe on block, but hey, more safe is better than less safe, I guess. They did some nice things to his quarter circle backslash, the lion tail blast. Now he's going to be lower body invincible for basically the entire attack, which means you're going to be able to go over people's low attacks, and this is also throw invincible. It's safer on block now, and they made the hitbox bigger, so basically everything about this move is way better. I like this change. I think it's going to make this actually usable, which is cool. And then finally, he's got one really big change here. So you can see the dummy is on all block, right? And then watch what happens when I do the toad. Look, it's unblockable. Unblockable toad. Okay, obviously it's pretty slow, so the opponent might be able to see it and jump out of the way in time. But I mean, wow, this is crazy. He got an unblockable. I think he's going to be able to open people up a lot better now. Plus, his pokes have been improved. His special moves have been improved. I think basically everything about this character is a lot better now. I don't think he's going to be like the best. I don't think he's going to be, you know, the top 3 in the game or whatever, but he's definitely going to be viable now, in a way a lot more than he was before. So big fan of these changes. Kyoshiro fans, you guys have a lot to look forward to playing this character now. Alright, next up we've got Jubei, my main character, and he got one really big nerf here. Big nerf, back throw into super no longer works, period. So from what I can tell, he literally has no way to combo into his weapon flipping technique now, which is a huge bummer. The only way you're really going to be landing this is like maybe if you have a really good reaction as an anti-air or something like that. But do keep in mind it is safe on block, so against certain opponents you might just be able to kind of throw it out. But yeah, you got to be careful. Can't combo into this anymore. Massive, massive nerf. But he did get some really good buffs as well. For one thing, his Saber Thrash right here, which is his mash attack, this pushes the opponent back a lot less on block. So this is going to be a lot less punishable. It does more chip damage, and it does more damage on hit. So hey, this move might actually be usable now, which it definitely wasn't before, so I like that. And then the one huge buff that he got, I alluded to this a little bit earlier. Now that Rage Burst has an increased upwards hitbox, you can see he actually got hit out of the air there. So situations before where you would land this combo and then they would E-send you, it's not going to be able to happen anymore because now you're going to reset out of the air and be able to block. So thank God you can now do this combo whenever you want and not have to worry about getting punished. I love it. This is going to increase his damage a lot. This almost makes up for not being able to combo into his super. I mean, that is such a big bummer for the character, but I still think he's going to be good. His damage and his punishment is going to be a lot better now, and you're not going to be losing those random rounds where you're doing great, but then you just do this combo and they burst it and punish you on hit, and then you're dead. So love these changes. I'm probably still going to continue to really enjoy playing as Jubei, so that's great. Tam-Tam is next. Good news for Tam-Tam fans, he's left mostly unchanged. His forward walk is faster, but now his forward dash is a little bit slower, so that's a very slight nerf. But one really huge buff here is similar to Jubei. If you are comboing into his weapon flip technique, they are no longer going to be able to burst and punish you on hit, which is amazing. Love it. It's nice. I feel like if the fans got their way, or at least the people playing this game, if they got their way, Tam-Tam would have been nerfed into the ground after a couple weeks early. It seemed like he was one of the best characters. But I still think he's really good, but he's definitely like not really in contention for top 3 anymore. So I think it's great that they didn't just sort of reactionary over nerf him. He still has what makes him really cool. He's still going to be a fun character to play. Plus, I think the universal nerf to the counter attack is going to help him a lot, because that was his biggest weakness, was getting countered. So I think Tam-Tam is still going to be really strong. Just maybe a slightly worse because of this dash nerf, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think he's still an amazing character. Next up, we've got Charlotte. I think Charlotte's another contender for maybe the best character in the game now. She didn't really lose much. I would say the biggest thing is her standing light kick. Got a bunch of recovery added to it. So now if you're just spamming this move, you're going to be a lot more punishable than you were before. Got to be careful. You can't just use this over and over like you could before. A lot more extra recovery, at least that's how it feels like to me. So that's a pretty decent nerf. But otherwise, she's pretty much left alone. Similar to Genjuro and Yashamaru, her Dragon Punch is now only invincible if you do the heavy version, so that's a slight buff, but not horrible. And one nice thing is now her Super has an increased hitbox, so there's going to be fewer situations where you get one hit of it and then they're able to block the rest of it because one of the later hitboxes whiffs. So this nerf to the kick is a fairly sizable nerf, but otherwise I would say she's still really, really good and potentially still top 3 in the game, maybe even the best character in the game now that some other ones have gotten nerfed. Alright, and now we've got the boy, Genjuro, the menace of this game. 4 of the top 8 at EVO were playing Genjuro. And man, they took away basically everything that made this character broken. So let's start out. First of all, he builds gauge. He builds his rage gauge more slowly now, and he stays in rage for less long. So doubly his rage got nerfed here. Next up, his standing kick, probably the best kick in the game, at least previously. Now, the second hit of this is not an overhead. They can block the whole thing crouching, so no longer are people going to get hit by this overhead and then get got. So that is a really big nerf. His crouching medium slash, considered one of the best normals in the game, now has a smaller hitbox. It now has slower startup, and it has longer recovery. So every single aspect of this move basically was nerfed. Next up, his Dragon Punches all have additional recovery. These are going to be a lot easier to punish on block. And as I mentioned with the other characters, now only the heavy version of his Dragon Punch is invulnerable. So there's going to be a lot less situations where he's just mashing out light Dragon Punch and you try to punish it, but he just recovers too fast. Not going to be the case as much anymore. And then finally, his command throw. Basically everything about this move got nerfed. The range is tiny now. Are you seeing this? Absolutely no range. Longer startup and increased recovery, so it's going to be more punishable on block. So, I mean, these are basically all the things that people complained about this character, that he had the best poke in the game with his down medium slash, he had kind of the best up-close mix-up kick in the game with his standing kick, best command throw in the game, best Dragon Punch in the game. Every single one of these things did get nerfed, but notably some things that didn't get nerfed too bad are his card throw. This is still going to be really good. And then his cross-up Rekka, this is still going to be good as well. So I think he's definitely still going to be a great character, just definitely not as broken as he was before. He's going to actually have to play fair like the rest of the cast. So I think these are great changes. I think Genjuro is still playable. He didn't get nerfed into being obsolete. But definitely he lost everything that made him broken. He's not going to be broken anymore at all. So I think that's great news, and I'm really happy with this change set. Alright, next up we've got Earthquake. Very little changed about Earthquake. He didn't get changed too much. He's going to stay in Rage longer now, which is nice. Nice little buff there. His move speed is faster in terms of his walking, and also his forward dash. It's going to be slightly faster, but I mean, it still seems really slow, so I don't know. And then the big change here is his crouch heavy slash is now has a further backwards hitbox. So there's going to be less situations where they're just too close and your crouching heavy slash can't hit them. So I think that that's fine. And then his running light slash is going to be slightly safer on block for whatever that's worth. I think that's fine. Not going to change too much. I think Earthquake didn't really need much. He was a pretty solid character. Not busted, but solid. And I think he's going to continue to be that way with some very, very slight buffs now. So Earthquake, not much changing. Still a good character, I think. Alright, next up we've got Shiki, considered with Kyoshiro by many to be the worst character in the game. Boy, did she get a ton of changes. Oh my god. So first of all, she has higher defense. She's going to take less damage. And she's going to spend longer in Rage, which is good. I believe she had the lowest Rage duration in the game, or at least close to it before, but now that's going to be changed. And I don't really want to go through everything, but basically every single move, it seems, the damage has been increased. She's going to do way, way more damage. Another thing to note is now you have more time to cancel into the follow-up attack on her quarter circle forward slash. So I think now you're going to actually be able to hit confirm with this, which is nice. Throw it out and then only do the second hit if it connects. So I think that that's great. Similar to what we talked about with Jubei, now if people rage burst out of her sort of combo, she is going to get reset out of the air, so you're not going to be able to punish her on hit anymore. So that's great. But then by far, I think the best change that she got is that now her reverse Dragon Punch, which is this attack right here, this is now an overhead. So yes, now if the opponent is down backing, you have something you can do about it, and it knocks down. Thank God. Oh my God, this is what I've been asking for. Basically, like, all her moves lose to down back, right? That's her big issue. She had literally nothing that could beat crouch block. Oh, but now she does, and it's pretty good. This is not easy to react to. So not only that, she can cross up with it a lot better now. So this move just seems crazy to me now. I think this move is absurd. So watch out. I think Shiki has the potential to honestly be like top 10, top 5 in the game now. These are massive, massive buffs that she got. I don't think anyone is going to be complaining about Shiki being bad anymore. Good lord, I love all of this. Alright, next up we got Yoshi Tora. So Yoshi Tora got more nerfs than I was expecting. I thought he was a pretty fair character before, definitely strong but fair, but he ate some pretty decent nerfs here. He's going to gain less rage on hit, so he's going to build up his rage bar a little bit more slowly. His running light attack has added recovery, similar to Yashamaru. You just can't spam this attack quite as much. It's going to be a little bit easier to interrupt now, so... his jumping heavy slash, this is kind of the big one. This attack can no longer cross up. Never, ever, ever will this attack hit the opponents on the back. So it's going to be a lot easier to deal with jumping heavy attack spam, which I think is good. It's not like it's interesting to play against this. It's just kind of something he can abuse against characters without a Dragon Punch. So I'm fine with this change, even though I do think it's going to hurt him a lot. And then the last kind of big change here is now, if you go through a projectile with his reverse Dragon Punch plus slash, this sort of command dash thing, now this is going to activate the guard point and kind of cause that little bit of screen freeze, which doesn't seem that important, but what this basically does is now it's going to be a lot harder to punish projectiles with this attack. They're going to be able to block it, and you got to be careful because this move is very unsafe on block. So I think against matchups like Galford, Jubei, Yashamaru, those are going to be a lot harder now because they're going to be a lot more effective at zoning him out with projectiles. So you got to watch out. So I think the character will definitely still be good, but he's losing some of his sort of more degenerate neutral tools. I think you're going to have to work a lot harder to open people up, which is kind of a pain because he already, like, his neutral is not amazing. So we're going to see how he fares with these nerfs, but I think he might drop down a bit on the tier list and maybe not be in that sort of top 5, top 10 conversation where he was before. Next up, we got Yashamaru. So this is another character where, like, it seems like basically everything in his kit got improved to some degree. Worth noting, he's going to build rage faster now when he gets hit, which is great. For a character who kind of relies on rage to get a lot of buffs, I think it's very nice that they are making him get it faster. His movement speed on walking is increased, like a few different characters in the game, so that's pretty nice. And like basically all his normals have been improved to some degree, whether it's improved damage, better hitbox, improved recovery. There's kind of a lot here, and I don't really feel like covering everything. A lot of his special moves were improved as well. His Azure Gale is going to have reduced recovery now, so this is going to be a little bit less punishable, more of a move that you can use. His Wintry Gust, which is this sort of lance throw, it's not getting any safer, but it is doing more damage, so that's pretty nice. This was already like a pretty damaging move, and now it's even more damaging. And then the last thing I want to cover here is his weapon flipping technique. So this will now beat out all other projectiles, which is pretty nice. And now when he is in Rage Burst and does weapon flipping technique, it's going to be much harder to punish this. He's going to be able to block a lot faster. So the recovery is reduced on this. So it's going to be something that when you're in Rage Burst, you can throw it out a little bit more freely and not have to worry about getting punished. So I think overall Yashamaru, already like a pretty decent character. I think he was solid before, and I think he's going to be even better now. So I'm very excited for these changes for sure. It makes me want to try out the character a little bit more. Next up, we got Darlie Dagger. This is another character where like basically everything has been buffed, so I'm not going to be able to go through everything here. Her defense has been increased, so she takes a little bit less damage. Her move speed on walking has been increased, like a lot of characters in the game. Her far medium slash is now special cancelable, which this is very cool. Only on the first hit, so you can do stuff like this. All of these surfing attacks have been buffed as well. They're going to come out faster and be a lot more useful for combos. Her crouching close heavy slash, this attack right here, is going to have an expanded hitbox. Her heavy slashes, both close and far, have been really buffed. Reduced recovery, comes out faster, all kinds of nonsense, safer on block. Now she can do stuff like this, like she can combo into it more easily off of jump-ins, which is nice. You can also combo into her jumping heavy slash off of jump-ins now, which you didn't be able to do before. So this is like a really big buff, I think. You can do stuff like this. Look at the damage off of one jump-in, 50%? More than that, like 55%. Good lord. So I think she's going to be a lot more solid now. Like all her good moves are getting better, and some of her bad moves are becoming good too. So she can do some really cool stuff now. I think Darlie fans are going to be pretty hyped because, oh my god, did she get some nonsense in this. Alright, next up we got Rey Song, another character where like everything is buffed, man. I don't even know what to say, so just running through a few of the big ones here. Her running medium slash is now special cancelable, which this seems like a huge buff. Very few characters in the game have this ability, which also means it's going to be Kara cancelable, so you can use this to sort of set up traps from further away than you normally could. I think that's pretty cool. Her running kick is now going to be a lot safer on block, a lot less recovery, and it pushes back the opponent more, so I like this change a lot. Obviously, you're still going to be punishable from a lot of ranges, but if you space it out well, I think you'll be okay. Her lightning thing, her down slash, these moves have been buffed a lot. They start up faster, they've got less recovery, they push the opponent back more on block, so I think that's really nice. They made her traps come out faster, and now Poppy will no longer trigger the traps when he runs over them, so that's great. And one last thing to note here, her super special is going to have a bigger hitbox now, so there's going to be less weird situations where you try to punish with this and it just misses. So overall, Rey Song hugely buffed, like every single aspect of her kit got buffed, which I think is good because she was definitely considered one of the weaker characters before, and I think she's going to be pretty nice to play now. And then finally, we've got the brand new character, Rimururu. Not too much changed about her, which is not surprising because she literally just came out like last week. But a couple nice things here. She builds rage faster, which is good. She has a pretty short rage duration, so I'm glad she's going to get it a little bit faster now. Her walk speeds are increased as well as her dash speed, so that's nice. I love a little dash speed increase on a character like this. Pretty sick. And then the only really notable change that I could find is now her Dragon Punch. Previously, if you anti-air with it, sometimes you would only get like 2 hits and it would do like no damage. But that's not going to be the case anymore. Now you're going to get almost all the hits every time, even if you hit the opponent really high up on the screen. So that's what I like to see. I think it's a nice change, and it's going to make her even stronger. A lot of people are kind of considering this character weak. I'm not sure that it's early enough to make a decision like that, but she's definitely getting some stuff that I think will help her out a lot. Oh, and I mentioned earlier, back quarter circle back. They made that easier to input. That's going to be nice as well. You're no longer going to accidentally get a reverse DP if you try to walk back and then do a combo like this or something. So I think overall great stuff. I'm excited to play more of her. So that's the last character, guys. I know this video is insanely long, but if you stuck through the whole thing, you're a real trooper, and thank you so much. And that's going to be it. Let me know down in the comments which of these characters you're most excited to try after the patch. Are you happy with the changes your character got? Are you upset? Are you ready to cry because you're a Genjuro player? I don't know. Let me know, guys. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.